I basically have one word to describe the flavor of this tobacco.
Peanuttiest. Peanuttiest.
That's the good word, peanuttiest.
Hi everybody, it's David Dorian Ross here, the founder of the Virtual Pipe Club. And today I'm going to attempt another tobacco review. Today I'm going to do Baren's HH Burley Flake. Now, I want to extend my disclaimer from last time that I am not a smoking expert, tobacco, pipes, or otherwise. But I am a hobbyist. I really enjoy it, and I'm discovering new things as I go along. But I thought that I would try something different. I would try a different approach to the way I tasted the tobacco and then talked about it. And it comes from what I know about tasting tea. Tasting tea. It's something that I really enjoy also besides tobacco. And I did study a little bit so I could get better at tasting tea. And so I thought I would try to apply my tea tasting experience to tobacco tasting. And there's a couple of reasons why. One is that when I listen to people who really do know better about reviewing tobacco, they often use very similar kinds of words and phrasings. And I thought, there's an overlap here. And maybe if I applied this and talked about it during my review, might make things easier for both of us, for you and me. So here's the breakdown. When you taste tea, there's a few steps that you go through. You want to smell it before you brew it. You want to look at it before you brew it. You're supposed to smell it once you brew it again, which I guess is sort of similar to the room note, what it smells like after it's been burning, steaming, etc. Then when you taste the tea, you taste three different stages or different parts of it. And it's kind of like doing an autopsy because it's laid out like a body. There's the head, the body, and the tail. Sometimes the tail is not called tail, it's called the finish, I guess, if you're squeamish about the tail part. Anyway, so here is my breakdown of Baren's HH Burley Flake based on the autopsy analogy. The first thing that you notice when you taste the tobacco or anything at all is what we call the head note. And this is like the very first initial hit that you get flavor-wise in the mouth. Oftentimes people think of, when they try to describe the flavor of something, they're really talking about this head note because it's the first thing that hits you. It's the first thing that sticks in your memory, right? And it's usually the thing that you bring up then when you talk about something. Now, for me, the head note for the Burley Flake was really sort of so mellow and subdued that I didn't really get a flavor, to be honest with you. It was not a bad thing. It just wasn't something I could put my finger on. It was a tiny bit sweet, I guess I would say, but not sugary sweet, just sort of, a slight almost memory in the back of my tongue of sweetness like honey. But I don't want to give you the wrong impression. It wasn't like a flavored honey thing. It was just sort of a hint in a way, really, really subtle. It didn't strike my senses in such a way that to create a big memory, but it did give me a sense of anticipation, like something, is coming that's more pleasant, so stick with it. Then we get to the body of the taste. Now, the body is what comes after the head note. It's sort of what a flavor evolves into. A lot of times you'll hear people say things, whether it's tobacco or whatever, it says, well, it started out tasting like, a lollipop, and then the next thing I know, it's like, fine wine. Something, it's an evolving of that flavor. And it sort of is the longer piece of tasting something. It lasts a little bit longer than that initial head note. And here's where you hear a lot of people using those fancy schmancy terms like it's a round flavor, it's full-bodied, it's all that kind of stuff. I don't want to make too much fun of them. It's just because I don't understand them when they say that. So I was thinking about it and I thought, well, in a way, I can get that in contrast to saying the flavor was flat. Like it didn't change. It was nondescript or monotone or something. So a flat flavor is like, I was thinking like eating a black licorice. I love black licorice, but it really just has one flavor. It's just kind of a flat monotone all the way through, as opposed to drinking some kinds of liquors that have a hint of that licorice flavor, but also berries or hay or something like that inside that flavor. So there's more than one thing. And I think that this is then what they mean by rounded or fuller body. The more of that complexity, the fuller the body is. And I want to make clear, I'm guessing on this. It's just a surmise on my part here. But I would say that the HH Burley Flake had a more than flat kind of flavor to it. But it was interesting because it wasn't like lots of different kinds of notes to it. It was more a building of that single note. And a definite flavor began to emerge out of that. And I'm getting to that in a second, so don't rush me. So it was, again, kind of sweet on the side of the tongue. It filled my mouth, and it was definitely not spicy, not peppery, not biting, not astringent. Mellow is sort of the whole watchword behind Burley Flake. I read somewhere in another review that Burley Flake is often described as unobtrusive. Yeah, it didn't like hit you over the head with anything, but it was nice. Okay, now we get to the tail, the finish. And the tail of tea tasting anyway is sort of like the aftertaste. It is what happens when stuff falls out of your pipe. It's what happens when you have sipped a few times, you feel your pipe getting warmer, you set it down, and then in between that and the next puff you take, there's this aftertaste. There's this walk away that you have from the earlier smoking. And here is where HH Burley Flake from Baren totally stepped up and made a statement. And the statement it made, the taste that it left, the aftertaste in my mouth, was like peanut butter. Seriously, it was like, like you had eaten a peanut butter sandwich, and walked away, and afterwards you can still sort of taste the peanut butter in your mouth. It's rich, because of all the fat in the peanut butter. It's sweet a little bit, especially if you eat like, grocery store peanut butter. Choosy mothers, choose Jif, That's what I'm saying about that. Why? Because their kids will eat it because of the sugar content. And that's my point, really. It's sort of that sweetness in there. It was definitely not a bad flavor at all. And I had this aha moment that one of the things that's sometimes confusing or I can't relate to is when people describe tobaccos with certain standard kinds of words and descriptors. And one of the things I hear all the time about Burley is that it has a nutty flavor. I'm like, I don't really understand what that means. But here, it's like, totally get it. It has, this particular tobacco anyway, has this great sort of peanut buttery flavor. All right, so there's my review of Baren's HH Burley Flake. Tell me how I did. Tell me if you thought this was something that would inspire you to go smoke some on your own, stay away from it and as far as you can. Say, well, this guy's got an opinion, or David Dorian is just whack. Either way, your comments and feedback are really, really appreciated. I really appreciated them from last time. Keep them coming. Now, a quick and shameless plug for the Virtual Pipe Club. Virtual Pipe Club is a group that I started because, I don't live anywhere near a pipe club here in California, and I wanted to meet some other people. Then all of a sudden, we were all quarantining in place and not going to things like pipe clubs. And besides which, I wanted to meet people from other countries. And so it's been a pretty rapidly growing group. We got a few hundred people who are from everywhere from all over the US to Japan Thailand, Indonesia, South Africa, the Netherlands, the UK, all kinds of places. We meet generally every Saturday, 7 p.m. London time, 2 p.m. Eastern time here in the States. And I would love it if you'd come and join us. We're basically just hanging out, talking about pipes and pipe smoking and tobacco. And usually I have a guest speaker. We've had pipe carvers, we've had pipe journalists, master blenders, all kinds of things like that. Come on and check it out. It's a great group of people. I'm putting a link down here in the description to the Facebook group page where you can come on over and join. It's free. It's a couple hours on a Saturday. Come join us. Anyway, that's all I have to say this time around. Thank you. Happy piping.